What is going on, Birdland? Stephen Heckman here for The Final Strike, brought to you by the Baltimore Battery. We are back in business. I know it's been a few weeks. Unfortunately, I was down and out, was sick, had no voice. As you can hear, my voice is still kind of in recovery. So I apologize I wasn't able to get out and provide any new updates or spring news through podcast. But at the BaltimoreBattery.com, we did keep things going and busy. We finished our winter edition of Around the Nest and went right into Spring Notes 2025. There is roughly 10 articles out there about things that were going on through the first 10 days of spring training, from when pitchers and catchers reported to when players reported. So we also have some, we did a special series towards the end of February, key Orioles who contributed to the team for Black History Month. The Black players who were a part of that team that we wrote about were Paul Blair, Al Brumby, Adam Jones, Eddie Murray, and Frank Robinson. So you also have Thursday Thoughts from Justin Supton. You have Zachary Bucklow, who put out a few articles on prospects, rankings, and what we can expect from them. You also had Jared, our editor, and one of our co-founders, who put out our first recap after the first game, just to get us back in the swing of things. And you also have RJ Delberto, who put out a really good article pertaining to Cedric Mullins and his status with the team this year, as he's a free agent at the end of the year. So you can always head over to the BaltimoreBattery.com, check out on things, and get caught up on a lot of things as well. But now that I'm back, voice is still scratchy, as you can hear, and I apologize about that. Fortunately, I got to drink some water right now. So we'll keep things moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, we've started Grapefruit League games, which is a good thing. Some news out of Grapefruit League to start so far is you have Gunnar Henderson, which I know that's the first name on everybody's mind right now, had some soreness in his side. So we've gone ahead as a precautionary, and we've had let him rest. Right now, there is no timetable for return or when he'll resume baseball activities, but rather get him rested instead of him fighting through it, causing a more significant injury, and us losing him for part of the season. He's too integral to the team for us to risk losing him to an injury like that when we could have prevented it. So it's a plus, it's a positive. Definitely don't mind him taking the time off to get himself ready. He's going to be fine. We saw what he did last year and the year before. He's a key component of our offense and our defense. He will be fine. Jordan Westberg, who's been dealing with some lower back issues, he should be expected to be back sometime this week, which is good. Unfortunately, this time of year, you're going to see small things like that creep up. Tightness from hamstrings, tightness in the lats, the glutes, all that. And back, because these are things, unfortunately, as our season ended in October and we're back to starting things in March, these players did not play in game time situations. They don't, as you've heard some players say during interviews in the spring, they have to get themselves baseball fit. Basically what that means is you're getting yourself used to using muscles you don't use in the off season when you're working out. A lot of times in your off season, you're working out, you're building muscle, you're strengthening injuries that you had like in your groin or biceps, quads, stuff like that. Come March, you start resuming baseball activities, and sometimes those ramp ups, because you're not used to doing it in that 6-month time frame, you get a little sore. So you're using muscles and core components of your body that you can't use in the off season while you're working out, and sometimes that's what happens. So precautionary measures have to be taken to get these players comfortable enough that they can continue to practice and continue to play for us. Remember, it is a long season, and with the expectation of us being in the playoff contention again, and hopefully World Series contention, these are things that are going to matter. So those are things that we got to pay attention to. Brandon Hyde said Felix Bautista should be expected to pitch tomorrow against the Red Sox, which is a plus. He's completed a couple live bullpen sessions. He's done his side bullpen. It's a big plus to get Felix Bautista back for this season, and we're going to do what we can to make sure we're cautious with him. The good news is we do have people capable of filling in if he needs a night or two off, because he's pitched too much coming back from Tommy John surgery. Sir Anthony Dominguez last year proved he is capable of handling that closer role if need be. So we do have the ability to fulfill that. I know his last few outings in spring have not been promising, but one of the things I always tell people to pay attention to when it is spring is avoid looking at the pitcher's stats. Make sure the pitcher got through his innings. Make sure he didn't have an inning where he threw 50 pitches and had to be pulled early. Those type of things. The reason that I say this is because pitchers in spring training, especially in game situations, are going out there to work on specific pitches. If they added a new pitch to their arsenal, if they've tweaked something in their windup that's going to change their arm trajectory and they have to get it down to where they're comfortable, those type of things. Grayson Rodriguez, he's working with a sweeper to add to his arsenal. He already had one of the best changeups coming out of the minor leagues. He had his strikeout numbers improved last year to a little over 10 strikeouts per inning, which is great. He wants to add a sweeper to that, so you're going to have him with his fastball, which he does have a four-seamer and a two-seamer, his changeup, his slider, his curve, and now he's adding a sweeper. He's going to be very dangerous. I look for him to have a big year, take that next step forward. Last year, we got 20 starts out of him. Year before, we had limited starts out of him because of some arm fatigue. So we want to make sure we're careful with him. But last year, 20 starts. Out of the 20 starts, we had 11 quality starts. I expect that number to go up. We also had at least 15 games in which he gave up 3 runs or less. And we also had him pitch in 8 games following a loss in which we won. So he's putting forth signs that show he's capable of being a frontline 1 or 2 starter for us. And that's a positive, especially because Birdland is kind of upset that we did not sign a top-notch starting pitcher this offseason. We're going to get into that shortly. I want to continue forward with the spring stuff that's going on. Today, we optioned Colin Selby to minor league camp. Probably good. He hasn't pitched well this spring. Even in live batting practice, he was getting hit a little bit hard. So there's some tweaks he's got to do probably with his wind up or his approach that's going to get him back to being a benefit to us like he was last year. We also reassigned catcher Silas Sardone, right-handed pitcher Justin Armbruster, outfielders Dylan Beavers, Enrique Bradfield Jr., and Judd Fabian. Left-handed pitcher Jacob Hernandez, right-handed pitcher Yamarel Geraldo. Excuse me if I'm saying any of these names wrong. Infielder Jeremiah Jackson, right-handed pitcher Robinson Martinez, right-handed pitcher Carlos Tavera, and right-handed pitcher Nathan Webb to minor league camp. That's fine. Our team is pretty much set with what we're going with for a majority of the roster. Currently, our roster sits at 58 players, 39 regular on the 40-man, 19 non-roster invitees. We're pretty much set with how everything's going to roll out with our team. First base is going to be Ryan O'Hearn and Ryan Mountcastle, depending on what pitcher's pitching that night, who's going to be taking at-bats there. Second base is going to be Jackson Holliday. All right, he's going to get every opportunity to be the player that we think he is. Remember, he is just 21 years old. Just because Gunnar Henderson came in and lit things up at 20 years old doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the same. But Jackson Holliday did some extra work this offseason, not only in the batting cage, he bulked up, he did some fielding work. Great thing about Jackson Holliday is he has younger brothers who are playing ball. He had a father who, during his time of playing professional baseball, was one of the better players in the league. I don't think people appreciate how good of a player Matt Holliday actually was. But they have a whole area where they just do practicing baseballs, throwing, fielding, pitching, hitting, catching, all of it. They have a whole area set up that's been built for them. So I think we're going to see a pretty good season from Jackson Holliday. I'm looking at 10 to 15 home runs, probably 70-some RBIs, and I'm expecting at least in the low end double-digit steals between 10 and 15. I'd love to see him get to 20 or 30 steals. He does have a lot of speed. He's also small in stature, so it makes him sneaky quick. All right. His arm is going to play well up at second base. His range, because he is a former shortstop, is going to play well up. So we've got our infield set because we know Gunnar Henderson's going to be playing short. Jordan Westberg is going to be playing third base. Our utility infielder is probably going to be Ramon Urias, mostly because he has the experience. He has actually been a very good player for us the past 3 years, getting the opportunity to play in the field. He was a Gold Glover for us. Talked about it before. I didn't agree with it, but I will take it. He's a Gold Glover for us. Also is pretty sneaky when it comes to hitting. If he gets consistent at bats, we've seen what he can do. Jorge Mateo will likely start the season on the injured list. He is recovering from UCL injury, in which he did have a Tommy John procedure done. He is throwing baseballs. He is swinging the bat. So I probably expect him, I'd say probably mid-April to beginning of May, we should have Jorge Mateo back as our super utility player. Super utility, and that's a key thing because with the ability of Jorge Mateo to play second, short, and third, he also can play in the outfield, which then brings our outfield total probably down to 4 in the rotation. All right. And those 4 are going to be, more than likely, it's going to be Colton Cowser in left. I think he does better in left. He has more of the ability to cover the way left field is for Baltimore. We did bring the fence in 11 feet, so that's going to change that. He'll be able to adapt to that. You have Cedric Mullins, who will be manning center. Tyler O'Neill, who will be playing right field. And then you have one of my favorite players, who I'm really hoping for a big season from, Heston Kjerstad. More likely be the 4th outfielder. Might even see him play a little bit of first, depending if Ryan Mountcastle, Ryan, or Hearn get hurt this year. Hopefully not. Knock on wood. Also, he'll be getting a lot of at-bats at DH. Catcher, of course, we already know, the wonderful Adley Rushman, and Gary Sanchez, the veteran backup, who has postseason experience. If anybody's ever looked at the way Mike Elias has signed players, it's players who have been to the postseason, players who have been to the World Series, so they can help guide these younger players into getting where they need to be and ready for the season, for the long season, how they can prepare for it, how they can go ahead and get their body situated for a long rolling season. 162 games is no cakewalk. Then you go into the playoffs, you look at it this way. You will play a minimum of 2 games in the first round, 3 games in the second round, 4 games in the championship series, and 4 games in the World Series. Minimum. So that's 13 extra games. You could go to the end on every single one. And then you're playing the best of 3, the best of 5, 2 best of 7 series. All right. In that situation, you've got 29 extra games possibly with little short breaks in between. Plus the pressure is enhanced so much more and makes it that much harder for players to succeed because they feel that pressure and put the pressure on themselves. Excuse me, real quick. Unfortunately, with my throat the way it is, I do have to keep drinking fluids because my mouth gets dried out really quick. So I do apologize for that. But back to what we were saying. We're pretty much set on our team. Our bullpen has the opportunity to be one of the best bullpens in baseball. Like, it really has some pretty good depth. So let me pull up that roster real quick because I tell you what, the depth we have in that bullpen, mind you, the Orioles are winning 4-3 right now on the bottom of the 9th. But we know what the back end is going to consist of. The back end of the bullpen is definitely going to be Felix Bautista and Sir Anthony Dominguez. You're going to have Andrew Kittredge and Yennier Cano being setup men. You're going to have Keegan Aiken in there. You're going to have Soto. Yeah, Soto. You're going to have him in there. And then you possibly are going to end up with either Albert Suarez, excuse me, possibly Dean Kramer. You have Sionel Perez who's going to be in there. And let's see, Tomoyuki Sugano, who they call him Tomo. He could be in there. I know right now he's being groomed, as is Albert Suarez, for the starting, but you also have Dean Kramer, and you have Cade Povich, who are going for that 5th spot. top four of your rotation, it's going to be Zach Eflin or Grayson Rodriguez in the 1 and 2 positions. That's going to be followed by Sagana. Then you're going to have Charlie Morton, who he could also be in the 3rd position, Sagana in the 4th position. Your 5th position right now, you give Kramer the front runner because he has, for the past 3 years, been a pretty good pitcher for us. The statistics kind of make you question, but the team gets behind him and he's willing to take the ball in big situations and produce. You get into the metrics of things and you start wondering, how is this guy be doing what he's doing? He's a magician. Because he really is. The metrics on what's happening with him does not constitute how successful he's been. He is 29 years old, so he is in a situation where he needs to perform big for us to decide if he's going to be a part of our future or not. And that's important. So he's got the front. He's got a leg up in the 5th starter spot. Albert Suarez, who was brought in to stretch out as a starter originally, and people are like, no, he originally was going to be in the bullpen. That was until Rogers ended up hurting his kneecap. He has a subluxation of the knee. He hurt when he was working out in January, which put him probably a month or 2 behind into the season. So because of that, they moved Albert Suarez up to stretching out to be a starter. Then you have the lefty and young phenom Cade Povich. And the first part of his season was rocky last year, but last September, he went 2-2 in 5 games and had a 3.29 ERA. September, mind you. That's when we were in the thick of the pennant race and trying to secure a playoff spot. So he stepped up big time. He also is determined to improve that he should be on that roster. His first outing the other day, 3 innings, 6 strikeouts, 1 hit, 1 walk, no runs allowed. He has looked pretty damn good in spring training, and Slim does have an opportunity to knock Dean Kramer out of that 5th starter spot, especially being a lefty, especially being young. He was the centerpiece of a trade that Mike Elias made. Yes, we got Yennier Cano out of, but it was Cade Povich who was the key piece of that trade. And those are things that we got to remember. Then, on top of that, around midseason, you're going to get Tyler Wells and Kyle Bradish back. Kyle Bradish was on his way to being the ace of our staff 2 years ago. And even last year, he started the season on the IL, pitched only 8 games for us. But key thing in those 8 games, we went 6-2. He had a torn UCL, and the guy still pitched every game, giving up 3 runs or less. That's big. And that's significant. Him and Grayson Rodriguez should be a center point of our pitching staff for the next 10 years easily, if not longer. If we can keep Zach Eflin for another 2 or 3 years, I'm fine. I really do not think we need to trade for a starter. If we do, kudos, that's great. We had Corbin Burnes last year. Yes, Corbin Burnes went out and did everything we needed for him. We did make him an offer. Unfortunately, he wanted to be close to his family, and that's why I keep telling people this. He took less years and less money to go be closer to his family. He has clauses in his contract that allow him during spring training to actually go be with his family if he's not pitching that day, or leave early to go be with his family if the team's going to travel. His wife just had twins after the season ended last year, so he wants to be around his family for that. Nobody even knew Arizona was involved in negotiations or in giving him a contract. It was believed that it was down to the Orioles, the Blue Jays, and I honestly don't remember the 3rd team, but everybody kind of expected the Orioles to be right there. And then when he signed elsewhere, everybody's like, the Orioles didn't do nothing. They let all these other players sign there and here. We have 8 people capable of being starters right now on the team without Tyler Wells and Kyle Bradish being there. We get Tyler Wells and Kyle Bradish back mid-season, that's like picking up people at the trade deadline. Zach Eflin had a resurgence with us last year. Big part of our second half surge and us making the playoffs. Nobody even knew he was available on the trading block. Nobody even knew that we were negotiating and talking with him. It was probably the most sneakiest and best trade of the deadline last year. He is a all-star caliber pitcher who has pitched in the All-Star game. He has pitched in the World Series. He's pitched in playoff situations. We've got him for a full season this year. And honestly, if he has a decent season, I can see us offering him a 2 or 3 year contract at the end of the year. Zach Eflin is, how old is Zach? Where is he? He is, he's 30. We can easily give him a 3 or 4 year deal after the season and be fine. Oh, that's last year. Let's see. Last year, he went 5-2 with a 2.60 ERA in 9 games with us. His ERA was over 1.5 points lower with us than with Tampa Bay. He's a pretty damn good pitcher, and I'd be glad to have him stick around for a couple years. Because if you get Kyle Bradish, Grayson Rodriguez, and Zach Eflin as your top 3 starters, you've got something. And that's not even to say who's behind him. Because we have Chase McDermott. Unfortunately, he's dealing with a lat injury, so he's resting that. But he probably wasn't going to make the team this year, so that's fine. Of course, Cade Povich. Then we have Kyle Bravanovich, who actually was part of the trade with Kyle Bradish and was actually ranked higher and believed to be better than Kyle Bradish. So if we can get him to return to his form, we really have a top-notch rotation set. And I know people get upset with Mike Elias for not swinging these big trades, but we have a majority of these prospects that we drafted playing right now. Enrique Bradfield Jr. is a year or two to be a part of us. He got some quick updates, so we're all good. And I don't think that there's much to worry about. Our pitching staff without Corbin Burns 2 years ago, and pretty much the only difference is you have Sagano and Eflin now and Charlie Morton. We won 101 games, and we were predicted to have the worst pitching staff that year. We finished number 11 in ERA. So Grayson Rodriguez improving is going to be significant. Zach Eflin for a full year is going to be significant. Charlie Morton with his expertise is going to be significant. Might not strike out 8-9 batters a game. 6-7 will do. If he can give us 160 innings, keep his ERA around 4 or less, we're fine. The guy has pitched at least 167 or more innings in the last year, every year, excluding the 2020 season, because nobody had a full season. But in 8 years, he has done that. He's made at least 30 starts in the full season during that time. He's pitched in a World Series. He's pitched in a championship. He's pitched in the playoffs. He pitched for a team that was the top team in the baseball. He knows what he's doing. He even said, I only came back because I knew I still had things to offer to help a team. And he didn't just go to any team. His pick was a contender. And I respect that because, as he said, I still have more to offer a team, which is true. He can also be a mentor and a teacher to our younger players. But he's got to go out there and pitch. If he can give us 160 innings and 30 starts, I will take that any day. Of course, I don't want to see him giving up 5 and 6 runs a game, but with our defense, that shouldn't happen. We have a top-notch defense. We have probably the best or one of the top best defensive center fielders in all of baseball. And even if we trade him, Cowser can go over there very easily and play center field. So it's not like we're going to be hurting to get people out there. Plus, Jorge Mateo can play center field. So I think, all things considered, we're in better shape than what people think. And that's the important thing. We're in a position where we are going to be better than people expect. And it doesn't require spending money to do that. Also, you don't just spend money to spend money because you have an owner who says, let's go spend money. we've seen it numerous times. The Yankees have failed numerous times spending big bucks and not getting anything accomplished. The Red Sox, look at the Blue Jays, where they're at right now, and they've signed some pretty damn good pitchers along the way. So I think we're good. I think we're going to be all right. We're going to wrap things up here today. We should be back on a regular swing starting going forward. So I hope that you all stay with me and carry on our journey down the road. Big shout out to the Baltimore Battery, which we mentioned earlier. Would not be here without them. Don't forget to check out the BaltimoreBattery.com. I already named numerous articles that you can check it out, but we will be updating throughout the season. We'll have game logs, we'll have player updates, player injury news, all this stuff. We'll have you updated along the way. So please make sure you follow the Baltimore Battery on X and on TikTok at the Be More Battery. Okay. Give me a follow everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We're going to have the 3-5 app coming out soon. You're going to find me at Facebook. You can find me at SRJ Heckman or Stephen Heckman on Facebook. Big shout out to Scooters for Rent. Without them, the lights would not be on. We would not be here with the equipment and having the ability to sit here and talk to you all. So big shout out to Scooters for Rent. Remember, if you're in the Maryland Eastern Shore area and you need mobility equipment, that is mobility scooters, wheelchairs, manual, electric, and beach, and reclining lift chairs, give them a call, 302-280-6203. Make sure you tell them Stephen from the Final Strike sent you. Also, we have a new partner. The link will be in the profile on YouTube, and we'll have it flashing in TikTok as well. But it is Foxhole Coffee Concentrate. If you love coffee like I do, you get this. This will save you a lot of money. One bottle will get you anywhere from 24 to 30 cups of coffee a month. That's less than $1 a day. And all you do is you take 2 to 3 teaspoons for every 8 ounces. I use cups this size, so I usually use 3 teaspoons. You take your favorite coffee syrup, coffee creamer, add it to it. You can use water, you can use milk, you can do it hot, you can do it cold. Voila, you got yourself instant coffee. Save you money in the long run. Don't forget to check out the link below in my profile, Foxhole Coffee. The great thing about them, and one of the reasons why I am honored to be a partner with them, is they help disabled veterans who are suffering from PTSD, and they train and provide service dogs for them. And they support the shelters for all that. So they support military and animals, which is a big bonus for me. Hopefully you'll support them as well. Till next time, Birdland, don't forget to keep that beer cold. Peace out and have a good one, and we'll see you next time.